Hey everyone, so today I just wanted to cover my internship, a little bit overview of what I did, how I got it, and a few different questions that my class, my BIT field study class at Virginia Tech wanted me to cover. Um, but to start off with, I'm Grant, if you don't know already. I still currently work as a security engineer and intern on the Walt Disney Corporate Red Team. Um, as you can see from this little slide right here. Uh, a little summary of uh, what we do there is multiple red team operations, and they include various things. So some include content supply pipelines, some include rides, all sorts of things. And so we break in physically, wireless attacks, we'll hack in, do Active Directory attacks, all sorts of things to find what the vulnerabilities are, not in a penetration testing way where we'll test every single possible thing that could be a vulnerability, but we'll find the avenue in to get to the crown jewels, so to speak. And that's generally what a red team does for the most part, on the consultant side and on the corporate side, when you're on a corporate like owned red team. So I've had an amazing experience here, but how did I get it? So uh, I applied first off. I was in my dorm room and I just saw it scrolling by on LinkedIn, the cybersecurity internship at Disney, and I was like, oh, I don't know anything about that. But Disney's a cool company. I love Disney. Star Wars, grew up watching that, same with all the Disney movies. And so I applied and it was a pretty simple application. A few days later, got a call. They just did a phone screening to make sure I was the right applicant. So I was Grant. Some basic info about you. Are you able to work here? Are you able to work this time, these dates? So basic stuff like that. And after that, another few weeks went by, and then I got an email saying that I was going to have an interview with uh, some members from the red team. And well, it didn't say red team at the time; it just said the position names of the people. But during that time frame, my initial job application got moved around a bunch. So I got an alert saying that they had changed the name of my application, the location of it. So I went from working in New York City, which is where the original application was for, to working in here currently in Burbank. So the location changed, the job title changed slightly. So I became a security engineering intern basic instead of like some more specific definition. So it was more broad, the one I got moved into. And I guess they lined up my resume, because I have more offensive security penetration testing experience than um, blue team experience. And so they lined me up. The red team, I guess, decided they wanted an intern and pulled me in. And so I had an interview with one of the senior members of the red team, along with the director. And we just had like a casual conversation. They asked normal interview questions, some technical questions. They more wanted to see how I talked about stuff, so it wasn't a hands-on interview. Like they do run hands-on interviews, but I guess not for interns. But this one would be a tough interview, and it was a tough interview. But it would be a lot more tough if you didn't know what you were talking about. So if you didn't have hack the box experience, especially Windows and Active Directory. If you didn't know Active Directory, that it would have been a pretty impossible interview because a lot of the stuff we talked about was Active Directory related because Active Directory is in every corporate environment. So you have to know it, especially as a red teamer and pen tester. So after that interview, didn't hear back for a while. I ended up going home for a break from school. And while I was at home, I was actually out grilling. I got a phone call saying, congratulations, you got the offer from Disney. And so, oh, this is amazing. Like I was freaking out a little bit. And I went over compensation, all that stuff. And they said you have a few days to accept or decline it. And so I had to figure out, because I had few other offers from other companies, and so I had to coordinate to see if which one would be right. And this, even though this one's across the country from where I live, this is the one I chose because you're not going to get a bad experience in working on at least the Disney red team and at any red team at intern level. You're going to gain immense experience. So that's how I got it. But now that I've been here, I've been on multiple red team operations, sat through them. I've done some hands-on work as well, including physical and wireless assessments, along with Active Directory stuff, web pen testing, writing reports. During my free time, I got the EWPT, so E-Learn Security Web Penetration, Web Application Penetration Tester certificate. Pretty much mostly prepped for the OSCP and ECPPT, so the penetration tester, like general certificates. So that is, I can't go into too much detail about what we've done, but that's a basic overview. And so, yeah, so one of the questions for my field study class was analyze your progress towards your learning objectives, which we had to come up with at the beginning of the summer, and how you did on them. So these were going back to NIST. And so the first one I did was vulnerabilities assessment. And so this I did a lot of, pretty much every single day, did vulnerability assessments. So I think I covered that. Systems testing and evaluation, tested a lot of systems, multiple different ways, physical access. We did a lot of web stuff, did Active Directory. So I tested a lot of different angles on systems. Risk management, this I did do. So I completed this objective. It was helping and going over presentations and stuff, because I got to go through the reporting process and see how the C-level executives in Disney handle risk assessment and risk management. Physical device security, did this through physical pen tests, network management, same way, wireless assessments, physical assessments. So those were my 5 objectives that we had to assign. Completed all of them pretty easily. Yeah, so what difficulties did I experience in the field study, and how did you overcome them, and what did you learn from them? And so I experienced a lot of difficulties during the field study, but it was more technical challenges. It wasn't really like, oh, I can't do this or something. It was more like, oh, this is going to be something tough to bypass, but I know I can bypass it. So learning a lot of different tools and techniques, SSO stuff for sure. So single sign-on, learned a lot about that. APIs, GraphQL was something I really learned about. And if you want to go on my GitHub, you can see I create a tool, Graph Crawler, and it has 150, a little bit over 150 stars now on GitHub, which is crazy. Like, it just blew up. And so that was pretty amazing. And now I know so much about GraphQL. I use it all the time because a lot of developers love it now. And so it's growing. But what is the most interesting thing that you learned from the experience? What did you learn about yourself? Were there any surprises? So the managerial side of the red team, as well as other security teams, that was really interesting, and I learned a lot from that. And I got to go sit in on a lot of the meetings with my manager, and meetings with C-level executives, VPs, senior vice presidents, like you name it. Every high-level executive, I got to sit through operational readouts. We also got to do reporting, see how they do that. And so you learn a lot about how to handle yourself during those, how the team presents it in a way so that you're not insulting the person. So you're not just saying your security stinks. Go fix it. Like you have to handle it and word it the right way, as well as yeah, just playing your cards right, pretty much, to make sure that they want to go fix their stuff and they're not just doing it out of spite and because they have to. Yeah. So yeah, and also making sure you don't speak in technical lingo. So you're not, because a lot of these executives, like they know what they're talking about, like managerial wise, but some of the like low level stuff, they might not know what that is. So making sure you word things correctly so you're not confusing them too much. Like you gotta be careful with that, especially some of the executives didn't have any technical experience at all. So you have to make sure that everyone can understand your presentation no matter what. And so the sixth question was, what was the number one most important highlight, the field study and or class assignments? So the highlight for me would probably be joining on one of the operations that the team was taking a part of. And so when I came in, they were about midway towards the end of, so between midway and the end of the operation that they were on. It was a big one. And so I got to go hands-on with the team. I got to do an assessment of an application, a suite of applications actually, and also a bunch of other stuff that I got to do with them. And so I learned a ton from that. So phishing, like didn't so like you know about phishing, it's pretty easy to set up, but to set up perfectly, didn't know about that. And so I learned a lot about phishing, a lot about web application testing, and that's where I learned a lot about API testing as well. But yeah, so I learned a bunch of techniques from them. So going undetected, not just throwing exploits. So in Hack the Box, you just throw exploits. And try hacking, you just throw exploits. But you can't do that in real life. That will set off so many alerts. EDR will go off like crazy. So yeah, you just can't be loading up exploits and throwing them everywhere. Like it's usually stealing secrets, misconfigurations, and phishing. That's how you have to go about for most parts. So you have to know where to look. And knowing where to look is one of the things that I still struggle with, but you learn that over time as you get used to more technology. But yeah, those are the questions that they give me. But if anyone has any other questions, please leave them in the comments. And this is I think this is my second video on my YouTube. So it might have been pretty bad quality, but thank you for watching and I'll see y'all later.